Welcome to the Totally Awesome Outdoor Show. This is a DIY section. I'm going to tell you people out there how to upholster your chair pads. Now you can go to an upholsterist and of course you can get them done professionally. I've done it for years and years and years. I've probably done hundreds of them when I had my furniture shops, sitting there, passing the time, covering them. It is not difficult. In fact, I find it quite therapeutic. Well, because you're saving money. Here is a chair pad removed from the chair, a regular dining chair. I've already removed this, but I want to show you how to do it the easy way. Now let's turn it over. That obviously was joined to the chair pad. You have foam underneath and you're going to have a board. This could be a wooden frame around here on the older chairs, or modern ones like this. It's like chipboard. Yeah, it's not great stuff. Now, what I would normally do with the wood one is I would use either a screwdriver or a gimlet or bradawl, and I would hit here, tap away like this, go under either tacks or staples, lift them all up and then pull them all out. However, most of the time you won't be working with wood, you'll be covering over this chipboard or MDF. Now if you hit this hard on the edge like this, trying to get those staples out, you probably will end up breaking away this chipboard here, and then you've got a rough edge. You don't want this. So the way I do it, and this one is a fairly modern one because it's been fitted with staple guns. I'm done with at a factory with a staple gun. You want to, I've already done this, I'm just trying to get it to show you. It would be joined like that. Ordinarily be really tempted to bang all those staples out. It's time consuming and you might chunk out. Get yourself, I think they call them a box cutter in America. We call them just a regular cutting blade like that. They are sharp, do be careful with these. I have cut myself, I have been to the hospital, and the injection to stitch you up is more painful than the cut. So be very, very careful. Cut away from you, do not cut on your legs, preferably do this on a bench. I'm only doing it just to show you how it should be done. I cut along as close as I can like that to the staples. You cut right through there, all the way through there. If you go all around the edge, you can fold it back, easy peasy, look. Fold it off and you haven't damaged the foam underneath like this. So there you are, you get rid of your old stain covering, which is what you want to replace, and you're going to think, how am I going to recover that with the new stuff? Now, years ago, I used to use just ordinary curtaining for covering the chairs because I was just selling them, so I used basically anything I could get hold of. I've got hold of some nice material here, which I'm going to show you how to cut it. But a little tip is when you do this upholstery, you're going to be placing it over there like this. Obviously, you're going to be pulling it tight. You don't need to iron it really. But what you should do, if you have something like a Regency stripe or any sort of vertical pattern, when you pull it tight like this, you'll see the fibres start to curl away. So if you pull too tight one side or not tight enough, you're going to have a wavy pattern. So my suggestion, if you're covering chairs and you're not really tied to a colour pattern or a colour code in your house, a fashion thing, just use plain, because then it's more forgiving for that stretching. You don't quite see the pattern move so much. This is how I measure it up. Okay, lay your material down. In this case, it's a sort of universal one. It's the same both sides. You might have a material that's got an inside and an outside. So obviously, the inside is going to go like here. And you should be able to get 2 cuts and 2 pads out of this one. I'll get my pad, as you can see here. I'm going to turn it upside down. You do not want to disturb. You might have kapok, the old-fashioned kapok here, packing, or like this foam. The foam is much easier to work with because it's already been pre-shaped and pre-cut. So you're going to turn it over like this. I've actually marked each chair which it comes out of. So for that, I put the front, that's the front of the chair, F3. The chair on the other side of the room, which you haven't seen yet, has got F3. So I know each pad comes out the same. Now, you want to allow enough to come over by about ½ inch over the staples that you've got in there, like that. And the same all the way around. Don't just do it one side, because when you cut too tight here thinking you'll stretch it, it might be a little bit short. So just allow yourself a little bit more than you want, because you can always cut it back. As you can see, if I put it bang in the middle there and I fold this over like this, you'll see just out of this 1/2 metre of material, I'm going to be able to cover 2 pads out of one piece 18 inches wide. So get the scissors, get a sharp pair of scissors, and you can judge there, say 2 inches that side, just check it again, 2 inches this side, make sure it's all nice and straight, and I'm going to run the scissors exactly along there. Now don't force the scissors, just work using the very throat of the scissor, and you want sharp scissors. I don't think you'll get a very good edge. Not that you need a good edge, it's just a neat way of doing it. If you use a box cutter or a Stanley blade. And don't, look, you couldn't run a Stanley blade on that because you're going to cut through your carpet underneath. All this I would ordinarily be doing on a workbench. I'm just doing it here because we've got better lighting for the camera. Now, a problem people do make is they leave the original covering on and then they just stretch this over because it's a lazy way of doing it. They stretch it and force it over the existing covering, and then they've got to double the corners over. Well, you shouldn't do that because then when you go to hammer it in, you're going to force the joints of the chair apart and you're going to have loose joints. So always take away the old material and put on the new. So that's dead easy, isn't it? So I'm all central there. What I do first is just pull this over here and I'm going to run some tacks. Now, I don't have a staple gun. If you have staple guns, you could probably do it with that. I'm going to run a row of tacks along here. What tacks am I using, you ask? This is only chipboard, so I can get away with using small tacks. Let me get some out and show you. I used to call these gimp pins, but they actually call them tacks now, you know, very, very small tack. What do they call them? I will have a look. So some people are sort of fanatical about what size. They are called, there you are, cut tacks fine, 10 millimeters, 3/8 or 1 inch, which I do like to hear because it's still in inches. Now I'm going to be using a regular old school, old fashioned tack hammer, which I've probably had for 50 years. Now you'll notice it's got a taper on the back. If you have a small length like this, that's shorter than the width of your fingers, and you try and hammer it in, yes, you're going to hit your fingers, aren't you? So these are specifically designed to start those first few taps through the centre, and then you can release it, turn it over and finish it just like this. I just take a bit of tension on the material. I'm coming over where I've stapled it. I'm just pinching it. Now there's the flat end of that hammer going in there. Look, take it away. Bang, 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 bang. That's the first one in. I'm going to continue that and put a row along here. Right, so I've run a row of tacks along here. You can put these tacks even closer than that if you want. But this is a good chair that's got a support here that will actually pinch that as well. Now, I've already pulled this one tight, and if you come up like this, this is the one you want to pull tight over here. You can imagine if there was a straight line here, like a Regency stripe, you'd have to pull this very evenly to make sure the stripe is straight. In this case, just with a bland single colour like this, a single tone, it's much easier. So I just get my knuckles screwed up like this, and I'm going to pull quite hard, lay it down. You can see it's lovely and taut, lovely and tight. Fold it over, keep it tight. Just get one of your tacks. Now what you want to do in this last section is to keep, let's get that in, a nice even pressure, keep moving it over like that, and keep a constant pressure on there. Just finish these off. There, you can see it's nice and smooth, it's lovely and tight. Now the way I do it is to do the corners is the joint of the chair is going to slot in there, the main upright support. So I do this first. I'm not interested whether this is the right way to do it. I've done this for 40 years with hundreds of these, and I'm telling you this is just my way of doing it. I'm going to pull this over there, and you can see it tuck in there. But then I'm going to be left with absolutely loads of folds there, which might lift the joint up. So what I do is this is how I do it. I want a right angle coming along here. I'm going to show you. Along this line here. It's easier if I show you as I cut it. I cut down, careful not to overcook it. So it's level, just there, right? So you can see I've cut there. I then fold the other side over. I'm going to want to cut down there. I've left myself like loads of material here. Ordinarily I wouldn't keep this much material. There we go, take your time going down. Now you can see I've just got a little couple of bits of tag ends there. I want to lose all of this, so I cut. All I'm looking for, look, is enough to pull over there. So I'm going to cut to where my thumb is here, watch. I'm going to cut down there. I'm going to cut, stretching it a little bit down there. So I've got rid of a huge amount of wastage there. I'm going to pull the corner in first, just covering over that staple. Put my tack hammer there, just so I can get a bit of tension on it. Now that is nice and tight in there. Now what I do is I just get a little fold there. I don't use the outside edge because it could come unravelled there. I just put a little roll in it like that. Put it very, very, very tight, as hard as I can on my fingers. I'm going to come down over the top there. In goes the tack. The same here. I don't want to leave it like that. I don't want to leave it all raggy. I just put one fold in it. Nice and tight. Put it right across there. In goes the other tack. Now you might have tacks going along here. So you'll have to move around here, finding where the gap to get into the wood, chipboard or MDF is. Okay, so that's basically it. I'm going to do the other corners. Okay, you can see there, I've got all the corners, nicely done. But you've got this big surplus there. You could cut that off with scissors. I'm just going to use the blade here. If you've got an old blade and you go, oh God, they're all blunt. If you've got yourself a whetstone, you can actually sharpen these blades up. Just another way of saving money. So there we go, keep your fingers away, be careful, and just run it on a nice pull straight down there. Just outside the tacks, not too close. All the way there. And you can just come across the doubled up bit there. Just go reverse the scissors that way. And work away slowly. And there you can see, look, lovely and even. Same along this side. Just draw the blade, pushing down. All the way through. Any tag end you can remove with the scissors. Like that. That way the knife doesn't skid off. And if you go this side of the tacks, you've got to release the pressure. You've got to be messing the chair up. You want to cut inside of the tacks. Cut that bit off. And then we are pretty well done. Lovely and smooth, all finished. What you can do, if you wanted, if you had a wood frame one and a gap there to the padding, it would have webbing through there. That's all been left. Sometimes we used to get Hessian sacking and tack that on there. You probably can get some nylon covering just to neaten it up. In our case here, they're dining chairs, kitchen chairs, doesn't really matter. And this is the reason, as you can see, I've got front there. Here's the front of the chair. I've marked on the inside there because you can see it could go either way and you don't want to force it. You want to make sure it goes in the right way. So there's the front. I turn it over. There's the little notches I told you about that's got to go into the chair, into the actual corner of that. Now, as you can see here, I'll just show you here. If you had left the old covering on there, you can see what I'm talking about. It's a classic case with upholstery. It's just a lazy way people do it. They cover over existing covering. I'm going to have to hammer that in there. And what is that going to do? It's going to push these joints here apart and you've got a weak chair. All for the sake of a bit of time, bit of trouble, remove the old covering. I can just bang that in there. Same in the other corner. That's in. Now this chair's pretty good because they're good make. They've actually got supports here as well. And I've got screws I can fire in there which will pull all that in nice and tight. Well, that's it done. Let's look at the set of chairs and I'm quite impressed with them. There you go, all done, all finished. It's cost me nothing except time and labour. A nice set of chairs, they almost look like new again. Look, anybody can have a go at this. It's just a way of rejuvenating your furniture at minimal cost. You don't want to buy new if you can help it. If the joints are all good, why would you want to change them? But don't forget, if you're on a wood flooring, get something like some felt pads, stick on self-adhesive felt pads, put them on the floor, on the base of this, so you don't scratch your floor up. Thanks for watching the Totally Awesome Outdoor Show. Keep watching for more DIY tips.